Beautiful night here in St. Louis as the heat wave continues through the Midwest, and one player that's been red hot in the lineup for the Cardinals, first baseman Alan Craig. 3-1 pitch. Craig hits it out to deep center, to the track, to the wall. It's gone. Two-run homer. Alan Craig to dead center. Craig hits another. Center field. Did he get enough? Gone! And for good measure, Alan Craig would also add in the defensive play of the night. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals baseball. Before we turn the page on Game 1, look ahead to Game number 2. Some bad news for the Cardinals off the field, but some finality in the situation, at least this season, with Chris Carpenter.
Yeah, the bad news is Chris Carpenter is going to have surgery in a couple of weeks, and that's certainly a big blow to the Cardinals. I guess the good part of that is there's finally an answer, finally a direction for him, and we'd like to see him get it right and maybe pitch next year.
Well, he is healthy and pitching right now for the Cardinals, and that is Joe Kelly. He gets the start tonight. A look at him and Jeff Francis, the longtime lefty in the National League. That's next.
The Cardinals saw him. He was a Royal, and he was outstanding. Only 6 hits, no earned runs, and 6 strikeouts in nearly 8 innings. 5-1 lifetime against St. Louis. For the Cardinals, Joe Kelly will be making his 5th start. Last 2 times out, he's gone 6 innings, only 4 walks in nearly 20 innings for the Cardinals rookie, Joe Kelly.
And behind him on the infield will be local product and local hero from last year's postseason, David Freese. What did that home run last year in the World Series mean to him? We're about to find out. Edmonds deal that no one knew about to making it to the big leagues in his hometown.
David Freese, born in Corpus Christi, Texas on the 28th of April, 1983, lives in Wildwood, Missouri. He went to Lafayette High School, and this is his first major league at bat. He has a short, quick stroke. The ball jumps off his bat.
Making it to the big leagues was one aspect of his life. Another has been hitting arguably the greatest home run in the history of the St. Louis Cardinals franchise.
Swing and a high drive to center field.
Freese hits it in the air to center.
Get up, baby. Get up, baby. Get up.
We will see you tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah. David Freese has just sent us into game number 7. This series is tied 3-3 with a walk-off home run here in the bottom of the 11th inning. The Cardinals win it 10-9.
I think about, Lance Berkman. I think about Rafael Furcal. I think about Dotel. I think about all those guys that have played this game for a long time and, have wanted that ring. It's a special feeling. Obviously to be right in the middle of it is great. But to kind of remember the emotion that everybody had, the excitement, that's what I think about.
When a player has a historic moment, it can change the course of a team, a franchise, its history. It also can change the course of an individual's life.
It changes a lot of things, but I think, the big thing is, just people recognize you a little more. But, being in the postseason is huge, especially for a guy that, hasn't been around too long. I think it gives you that confidence and, it allows you to understand that, anything really is possible.
Now David Freese is a household name, one that even the most casual of sports fans know.
A lot of people just remember that night, Game 6. They talk about the parade, all of October and what we did. And, they throw some thank yous out there, that still touches me. But it's a cool feeling. I love getting recognized in public in St. Louis just because the excitement that all the fans bring and, their smiles. It's pretty cool. Not everybody gets the opportunity to grow up in their hometown and then put on that jersey and win a World Series. It's special. I still can't believe it. I'm trying to just run with it and have a good time with these guys and with this team for as long as it lasts. But it's cool to think about, and it'll always be a great memory.
That's Cardinals third baseman David Freese. Joe Kelly gets the start. Birds, Kelly, next on Fox Sports Midwest. By Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at stlchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, just no equal. Another warm evening. The Plaza of Champions just outside the ballpark, and those wonderful tributes to the Hall of Famers and great players of baseball history in St. Louis. Colvin will lead things off, followed by the former Red Sox and Met Marco Scutaro. Carlos Gonzalez, lone all-star rep of the Rockies. Then Kadire, the former Twin. Todd Helton, Nelson, Rosario, Herrera, and Jeff Francis. And on the mound for St. Louis, it's the rookie Joe Kelly.
It's been fun to watch him develop at the big league level. His ERA in AAA was under 3, so he was doing very well there. Really a 500 pitcher in the minor leagues who's just come into his own this year. He doesn't walk a lot of batters, and he's shown that he's very comfortable at this level, and he's gone 6+ innings his last 2 outings.
Cardinals are 5th in the league in double plays turned, and they got a big one yesterday. It went 1-2-3 in one of the key plays in the game late off the bat of Dexter Fowler. That's presented by Dobbs, the Cardinals defense. Alan Craig, one of the stories last night for the Cardinals. Great defensive play on the final ground ball of the game, but also the 2 home runs.
Probably as good a defensive play as we've ever seen him make. He's really getting more comfortable with the glove, and what he's doing with the bat is just nothing short of sensational. Averaging an RBI a game this year. Cardinals sure missed him when he was out.
Tom Mee, our director, pointing out that Carlos Beltran just ran into the dugout to get what's in his hands, those sunglasses. And what we find is that once you get around mid-July and the 7-15 starts, it's that area that does come into play. Very tough on a right fielder with the sun. And things then do change as we get into August and September. So here's a look at Tyler Colvin, and arguably hitting the best for the Rockies here the last month or so. Picked up from the Chicago Cubs. He homered here last night and hits a grounder to Tyler Green, the lone change in this lineup for Mike Matheny from last night. 97 degrees, a hot night, and Mr. Kelly's got the sleeves on.
Pitchers are creatures of habit, as most baseball players are, and Really, it's about his comfort level in terms of how his arm feels, his shoulder, and he's used to wearing sleeves. I don't think he really cares what the temperature is.
Marco Scutaro. Not many times do you hear of the Red Sox making a salary dump. They're usually taking on salary, but they decided to shed the contract of Scutaro. And a former Cardinal farmhand was shipped the other way. Clayton Mortensen, who was with the Rockies and then shipped to Boston for Scutaro. Good pitch in on his hands, 0-2.
Solid player, solid hitter, Scutaro. Really part of what amounts to be a pretty good Rockies lineup. They're missing Dexter Fowler again today, who has some shoulder issues. Todd Helton's in the lineup at first base, but they have had no trouble scoring runs. More so on the road than they do at home, but still the offense has been good. The pitching is not.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Get out of play. That is a huge loss when you think of Troy Tulowitzki not being in this lineup. One of the top defenders in the league. A tremendous bat. The shortstop and face of the franchise now for Jim Tracy and the Rockies. They are 10-20 with him out of the lineup. And Rick, there's no sign of him coming back anytime soon either.
Yeah, he's going to be out at least another 6 weeks. And they really couldn't afford to miss him. I think there's certain teams you lose a player and you've got a plan B and you've got the ability to adjust. But I think the Rockies were at that point where a major loss, if it would have been Gonzalez, or in this case it was Tulowitzki, that's just too much for them to bear.
Here's a 1-2 pitch to Scutaro. And he will do this all night with 2 strikes for the most part. He is the 4th toughest in the National League to strike out. He'll put the ball in play. He'll foul it away. He'll do anything he can to stay in the box. Last 6 games hitting close to 400. It's another 1-2 pitch by Kelly. Fly ball lifted into right center. Beltran is there and makes the catch.
Glasses on. Been shading his eyes with his glove out there as well. Still asking for help from John Jay, the center fielder. Not an easy field to play at this time. Casting a long shadow.
Tomorrow, it'd definitely be in play with the early start, hour earlier, and that even affects the second baseman with that early start tomorrow. Carlos Gonzalez, who is 6th overall in the National League, hitting .339. Fastball right down the middle for a strike. One thing about Joe Kelly, he has not been scared at all, has he?
No, he hasn't. I've been surprised at the fastball velocity, too. That last pitch at 95.
Slugging percentage, he's among the leaders. 1 ball, 1 strike, again at 95 by Kelly. Last year, Gonzalez hit .295 after a slow start. Hit 26 home runs. He drove in 92. Admitted he put a lot of pressure on himself after signing a contract extension. He's coming off a .336 season. On the outside corner and swung on and missed. Fair St. Louis, all kinds of activities happening. Watch out, you never know where these guys might land. This is presented by Southwest Airlines for Kyle, Jay, and Holiday. Beltran, Craig Molina, Freeze, Green, and the pitcher Kelly. Jeff Francis back with the Colorado Rockies.
Francis has pitched well against the Cardinals in his career. And the last time the Cardinals saw him, he was good. He was in a Royals uniform. And 17-game winner in 2007 for Colorado. And a guy that at one point the Cardinals wanted. They were working hard to get Jeff Francis. He's really tough on left-handers. The Cardinals with just John Jay from the left side tonight.
May surprise you. Remember, it seems like historically the Cardinals have, as a team, as a franchise, never been all that good against left-handed pitching. And this year, though, this team a lot better. 14-8 this season against left-handed starters. I'm sure a lot of that is due, too, to the fact that they've changed the complexion of this team the last year and a half, adding switch hitters to this lineup. Francis off the mound, fires a strike to first, and there's one away. Colorado not pitching well, and defensively they have struggled this season. And some changes tonight for Jim Tracy all across the board. Todd Helton, the future Hall of Famer. He's over at first. Rosario is behind the plate. Cardinals first in average, second in home runs. Just 2 back in that department as a team. And they're first in runs driven in. John Jay batting .321. Ground ball right side, base hit.
John Jay continues to have good at-bats against left-handed pitching. We've seen that really throughout his career. Has no trouble staying in. The front shoulder is in. Drives that ball to the right side.
The red-hot Matt Holliday hitting .500 since June 16th. And well, Matt Holliday is no stranger to doing that. He knocked out the G in Big Mac land. There's that baseball.
Looks a little lopsided, too, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. As he smoked one to the G in Big Mac land. The strike. Holliday was asked before the game about comparing his run with the Rockies, a remarkable run, historical run at the end of that regular season, to what the Cardinals did. And there are some parallels. But you look at what Colorado did, had to win just about every game. Cardinals, same thing, as Holliday rips it out to left. And this one is gone. It's a home run. It's a home run. Second in as many nights against his former team. Just got over the wall and left. It's a 2-run shot and a 2-run lead here in the first.
Very comfortable at the plate is Matt Holliday.
That's the understatement of the night.
And an early receiving line for him as well.
He is on fire right now. It's now 19 games, including tonight, against the Rockies. 5 home runs, and he's driven in 13. Here's Beltran, who's driven in an RBI in 9 consecutive games. Ground ball slowly hit to third. 2 away.
Interesting about Holliday, he's still using all fields in the middle of this streak where he's batting .500, but occasionally he gets a chance to turn on one. Yeah, I'd call that comfortable. And he didn't break a sign, but he sure hit that ball hard. Just barely snuck over the wall.
Paul Schreiber, the third base umpire, waited just a bit. Hand was up, and then he finally made that twirling motion to signal the home run. Alan Craig looks at a strike, had a chance to visit with his dad before the ball game today. And as you might imagine, a proud papa. Boy, he was beaming about his son. Dad's name is Ronald. I said, how much did you teach your son? He said, Dan, I'll put it real simply to you. I didn't teach him a lot. He said, I just played catch and pitched to him an awful lot. He said, but he had better guys than me teaching him. God-given. The ability and the talent of Alan Craig.
Moms and dads teach a lot of other things other than just how to swing the bat and how to catch the ball and how to throw it. And all those things come into making somebody a big league player. So we got to give him some credit, even though he doesn't want to take it.
How about this play of Alan Craig to end the game with Plato?
Quick reaction, lays out, leads Plato, all smiles.
If not for the injuries, Alan Craig very well could be headed to Kansas City and the All-Star game. Reaching for it and pulls it foul. He's driven in 43. He has more RBIs, to put it in perspective, than he does games played this year.
His home run RBI total very similar to Yadier Molina, who is headed to Kansas City. Batting average a little better. And in just 41 games, really a quarter of a season is what he's played.
The 2-2 pitch. Here's a high fly ball lifted to right field. Short of the warning track, and the catch is made by Kadire. Matt Holliday, the former Rocky, going deep against his former team. Air condition. You also get the full catered buffet, all-inclusive menu, and a great view of the game, indoor and outdoor seating. It's a party suite. It is air conditioned, and think about it at Cardinals.com. Matt Holliday with his 14th RBI, or rather, excuse me, home run. RBIs 52 and 53 on the year. And this is Kadire, Helton, and Nelson in the lineup for the Rockies against Joe Kelly.
I like that little race going on between Holliday, Craig, Molina, and Freese, who came into play with each one of them having 13 home runs on the season. Like to see them have a nice little healthy competition along the way, although you don't want to see Yadier Molina think home runs. The other guys, I'm okay with it.
This guy, more times than not, is thinking doubles, and that's Kadire. He is 4th in the National League with 24 doubles this season. And you would think, Rick, that you would find that playing half your season at Coors Field.
Shouldn't have trouble signing hitters to play at that ballpark.
You wouldn't think. Fly ball out to center. Jay is back and makes the catch, shading him just a bit to the opposite way. And John Jay got a very good jump and made the play.
Here's the good jump that he had. John Jay very smooth in the outfield. Cardinals missed him when he was out. A little bit on the offensive side to be sure, but a lot on the defensive side.
Strike at the knees to Todd Helton. I mentioned as I introduced the defense, Todd Helton, future Hall of Famer at first base. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I heard you say that and wasn't going to argue it. Really the game's best hitter over a decade. You look at his most productive years, the home runs, the RBIs. Good defender.
Chris Maloney has been at first base and third base coach. Look from the dugout of the Cardinals. The 1-2. Swing and a miss. Strikeout of Todd Helton. That pitch at 97. Second strikeout for Kelly.
That's a strikeout he'll probably call his buds and brag about a little bit. Striking out Todd Helton with low gas. Here's the motion of Joe Kelly. Drives to the plate. Three-quarter delivery.
Brings in Chris Nelson.
He's certainly not scared.
He's gone right at Gonzalez. Went right at Helton. Strike there to Nelson.
Attacking the strike zone. And that's a sign of when pitchers maybe feel a little tentative. And even a guy with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball can feel tentative. Because if you throw him straight and you throw him in the middle of the plate, these guys can hit him. But Joe Kelly showing a lot of confidence on the mound to me.
Breaking ball still a work in progress.
Yeah, it's okay.
Got him with that breaking ball and a strikeout back-to-back.
That was more than okay.
That's 3 on the night thus far for Joe Kelly. Three starts, Rick.
Just one walk in 16 innings, 9 strikeouts, and the ERA very low. Cardinals have already put a dent into that, but obviously he's a pitcher that's going in the right direction for Jim Tracy, and he doesn't have many starting pitchers doing that. So he has certainly been thankful for the work of this left-hander. There's actually been some changes in the rotation going forward for this series for Colorado. They're going to sneak a right-hander in. Jeremy Guthrie will now start tomorrow against Adam Wainwright.
Yadier Molina here, then David Freese. Tyler Green. Cardinals lead it 2-0 on a home run by Matt Holliday. And that floats in there at 68 miles an hour for a strike.
So in other words, Dan, they have 5 pitchers in their 4-man rotation.
Right. And again, if you're just joining us, first game in this series, we talked about it where the Rockies have gone, and the idea is to eventually get to an 11-man rotation where they piggyback on top of each other. The starters last a total of 75 pitches. That 75 pitch count is flexible, but roughly around that mark, and it's a gorgeous night, 4th of July Eve here in St. Louis.
And also the official halfway point of the season, game
Right.
81. So I like to call it multiply by 2 day. I'm not sure that's going to catch on, but if you look at the statistics of pitchers, 10-game winners, they're on pace for 20. Well, you can do the math yourself, Dan. I know how bright you are. Carlos Beltran, 63 RBIs. You know what that means.
A lot.
He's having a big-time season.
Yeah. Now, what concerns me is the Cardinals, 84 wins.
That won't be enough.
Second half's got to be a little better.
Agreed.
Brings in David Freese, and again, you can vote for David. Just head to Cardinals.com. He is one of the remaining possible All-Stars for the National League. Braves third baseman Chipper Jones is off that list. He will replace Matt Kemp on the National League All-Star roster. He was a candidate to be voted onto the team. Chipper hitting .291, 6 home runs, and he's driven in 29, another injury-plagued year. But his final season, and I think we both agree, no argument, a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and good to have him in the All-Star game as well, and does open the door for David Freese. In fact, the early reports were that Chipper Jones was leading in that race and David Freese was second. So very good opportunity for David to join his fellow teammates at the All-Star game in Kansas City. So if you've not voted yet, what's stopping you?
Cardinals.com, very easy to do. You can vote up to 25 times. Here's a 1-2 pitch. A swing and a miss. Strikeout for Francis, and that's his first of the night. Brings in Tyler Green, who gets the start at second base.
We haven't seen much of Tyler Green lately. Daniel Descalzo has been getting a bulk of the playing time at second base, even against left-handed starters. Might just be his night, though.
Bud Selig has weighed in on the controversy concerning Tony La Russa and some of his selections or lack thereof with the Reds. He said, look, in all fairness, the Reds have 3 players on the team, and that's a very strong showing. And Tony went over those picks before it was announced, and we were happy with those. This is popped up to the right side. Green is retired, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for the lefty Francis. Big news concerning Chris Carpenter. Jim Hayes will have that when we come back. promo. Jim, go ahead.
Well, we got the cat fight, sort of a little trivia contest within the pregame show tomorrow. I'm told we have 2 former Cardinals for the price of 1. One is a very special guest. That's a tease.
Hall of Famer, right?
So the other guy's what?
Great.
Okay. Just wondering.
What, are you playing the role of Al tonight?
My understanding is it's going to be
I just
Lou
wanted you to
Brock
clarify.
and John Costello. And if John Costello makes it to this cat fight, let's make sure we're on delay.
I don't know what you would mean by that, Dan. He's been on before.
He does a great job.
Fine job.
Very, very bright, intelligent, and sharp.
Quick-witted.
Yes.
He's in your league.
Not afraid with a little repartee, Rick?
Not afraid at all.
Here's Rosario, the catcher, batting .251. Well, Chris Carpenter was the big news today, and unfortunately for Chris and the Cardinals, he is done for the year. We can say that now officially.
Yes, season-ending surgery set for Carp on July 19th in Dallas. He had been attempting to come back, had hoped actually to pitch sometime after the All-Star break, but that nerve issue in his shoulder was causing persistent weakness in the shoulder, and at some point they just decided he kept having these little setbacks. This was the best course of action, and Chris said with this procedure that he's going to have, he feels it's his best chance to continue pitching, even though nothing's guaranteed.
Off the end of the bat, look at that baseball carry all the way to deep left center field. Chris Carpenter has been one of the great big game pitchers of all time in Cardinals franchise history, and what he has meant. 9-2 in that postseason, and last year, if you want to include the final game of the regular season, 3 elimination games, and he comes out with a win.
Yeah, workhorse during the regular season as well to get them into the playoffs, and really a key part of this team for a long time, and he hopes to be again. And I know John Mozeliak used the word clarity, Jim, and I think there has to be some clarity organizationally, knowing what's ahead for Chris Carpenter, but it'll be good to get some clarity for him too, because I know that has to be frustrating. It is frustrating to go one day to the next and not sure whether you're going to make it or not.
Well, you know what a competitor he is, and he feels an obligation, he said, to his teammates, to the organization, and to the fans to do everything within his power to get back. And he tried and tried, and just when he threw a side session and felt like he was throwing great, the following day there'd be that nerve issue, weakness, numbness, and he was at a loss, and he went to a specialist, and they thought they could throw through it and he could tough it out, but he realized it wasn't going to happen, and it was a tough decision for him.
This is the switch hitting shortstop Herrera, as you get a look at Carpenter talking with Adam Wainwright, Skip Schumacher there, and the outfield as shallow as we have seen for anybody this year, including pitchers. They are very, very shallow here for Herrera, and now John Jay has moved back a couple of steps in center field. Pitcher Francis is on deck, and here's a 3-1 pitch on its way. Apparently Carpenter had been dealing with the numbness that sometimes would creep into the forearm, the fingertips, the shoulder since 2008, but he had different ways that he would deal with that. And remember the workload that he put together last year. It was nearly 280 innings if you combine regular season with the postseason. And Rick, that doesn't even include side sessions and spring training and all the catch that you play. I mean, a lot of wear and tear on that arm.
A lot of innings cumulatively over the career of Chris Carpenter that began even long before he was a big leaguer. And the other thing about him is not just the wear and tear, but the age at which he dealt with that. The other side of that is that Chris Carpenter is a guy that's used to coming back from injury. The first year that we knew him, he was signed by Walt Jocketty, and we basically just saw him sit on the bench every once in a while. I mean, he was injured and couldn't play, but they took a flyer on him because of two players, Woody Williams and Mike Matheny. They said, this is the guy you have to go get, and they were right.
And to me, the most impressive thing, as much success as Carpenter's had and the effectiveness, he did a lot of that, not even close to 100%. People didn't understand that he was going through a nerve issue where sometimes he couldn't feel the tips of his fingers. The numbness would creep up into his face. And I asked him if he saw this coming as he started this process this season of coming back. And he said he always thought he could throw through it, and he would have had this surgery earlier if he realized.
throw a little bit high, and safe at second base is Herrera. It's one of those plays that Mike Matheny talks about that separates a Yadier Molina from some of the others in baseball. He is so aggressive and will take that chance, and this time it did not pay off. It's a fielder's choice and an error on Yadi.
With a bunch just in front of home plate, so Yadi knows he has plenty of time, and he did. He just made a bad throw. And it'll be an error on Molina, just his third of the season. One side of it, you say, hey, you've got a 2-0 lead. Why take a chance? But in his mind, he's not going to make a throw like that but one time out of 50, and unfortunately that was the time.
Now, the Cardinals picked up Carpenter. You might remember he was part of a rotation at one point that had some unbelievable talent. As Colvin, we're back to the top of the lineup, looks at a strike. It was David Wells, Roger Clemens, Pat Henkin. They also had Roy Halladay at one point. That's why people, I think, sometimes question, well, how does Carpenter know Roy Halladay? Well, those two were teammates and came up together in Toronto. So his background was with some great pitchers and guys that showed him the ropes in the big leagues. Gets to St. Louis, and they were hoping at some point in 2003 he would pitch. And then of the championship season of 2004, who knows what would have happened if he was available to pitch in postseason play against the Red Sox. Was very good, though, in helping the team get there.
Well, I want to be careful that we're not talking about Carpenter in the past, because he is going to have this procedure, and he hopes to keep pitching and be a Cardinal in the future. He realizes the procedure is kind of a rare one, and he didn't even ask what the percentage of recovery is. He just is remaining hopeful that he can make it back.
You know, Rick, you think about it in hindsight being 2020, but it's one of those things where you say, would you push Chris Carpenter if you know you're going to win last year's World Series? Same thing could be said in 2006, because you lost him for all of 2007, and the answer would be absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, you push it if you know you're going to win a championship.
Well, of course, the answer is you never really know whether you're going to or not, and that's the gamble you have to take. And I think John Mozeliak has been in a bit of a quandary.
Here's a high fly ball out to deep right field. This is trouble, and this is gone. It's a home run. Colvin does it again. His 10th home run of the season. A 3-run shot, and the Rockies are on top. So the air by Yadi comes back to haunt the Cardinals, and it's 3-2 Rockies.
Change up 0-2. Comes back over the plate, gets too much of the plate. He wanted that to be down and away, did not hit his spot. Colvin, who's been red hot of late, knew what to do with it.
Scudero to center. Well, Jim, what was Chris Carpenter like in addressing the media?
He said he's done with the woe is me, because he's been through that the past few days. He's made his decision to have the surgery, and now he's focused on that and making his way back. And from the Cardinal perspective, as Ricky mentioned, John Mozeliak said it's closure. Now they realize, okay, we're not getting Carp back. We have to address the needs of this team with a little more information that Chris Carpenter's not included in the mix.
And we talked about that yesterday. A little clarity brewing on Lance Berkman. And you mentioned Kyle McClellan.
Kyle actually
threw
today 40 pitches, basically playing catch, but he said he felt great, felt like he's right on schedule. And then Jaime throws for the first time tomorrow. He expects to throw about 40 pitches, and he's excited for that. So, you know, they're getting some guys back.
Base hit into right for Cargo. Carlos Gonzalez is 1 for 2, and it brings in Kadire.
5-tool player, Carlos Gonzalez. Pitch up a bit. Out over the plate again. Kelly really hasn't gotten hurt by the fastball yet tonight. It's a couple of off-speed pitches that have hurt him.
Two outs and a runner at first for Michael Kadire. Where's that number 3 to honor Harmon Killebrew? Kadire came through the Minnesota organization. Those two became very close, and when he arrived in Colorado, he said he wanted to wear number 3 to honor Harmon Killebrew.
The Cardinals have had some past interest in Kadire.
A lot of teams have, and Jim, they talk about what a great presence he is in the clubhouse. And first thing he said when he was introduced to the Rockies and the media was that I want to bring my family here, and we will live in Denver, and we want to entrench ourselves in the community, not just with what happens between the white lines, but become a vital part of the community. That's pass for COL and a base hit into left. And I know, Rick, you like to hear that.
Well, I don't like to hear the base hit the left, but I like to hear the community part. Yeah, I think that's harder and harder to do the way baseball is now. Players change teams quite a bit more than they would have, say, 30 or 40 years ago. But I think cities like to embrace players. They like to know they're part of the community, and that's what's happened with the Cardinal left fielder. You mentioned that earlier in this homestand. Matt Holliday has really become the St. Louis.
It seems with the Cardinals more and more each year there are guys staying in St. Louis year-round. I don't know if it was more that way when you played, but in my experience, more and more each year.
It's recovering, I would say, that trend.
Here's Todd Helton, 5th place hitter in the lineup. Struck out his first time up. Todd Helton has not hit more than 20 home runs since 2005 in a single season, dealing with a sore back, and it's been a problem for him late in his career, but still a very good hitter and dangerous. Giambi, Berkman, Helton, Beltran, the power company that's in the house tonight. We saw Giambi as a pinch hitter last night. Berkman close to returning. Helton and Beltran both in the lineups of their respective teams.
Berkman said he's actually in pretty good shape right now. He said when he left he was about 225. Now he's 217. Mike Matheny, when he saw Berkman for the first time, said, "You look great." And Berkman said, "What did you think? I was laying around on the couch? I've been working trying to get back."
Remember the kind of shape that he put himself in before he got to St. Louis. Was in tremendous condition, knowing that he would have to play right field,
and it paid off.
Talked to Lance today. He went through a workout. Greg Houck, the trainer, lead man for the Cardinals. A lot of that, a lot of sprints, a little bit of throwing. And Lance was saying that after the workout, he felt great. Knee is recovering, and he should be set to go by the middle of July. His health pops one foul and out of play. And by the way, Lance did hear our conversation about the Hall of Fame. And by the way, is in agreement with us. And that he's there. May need a few more years, a couple more years. Who knows the kind of numbers he may put up. And it really just comes down to, whether or not he wants to play, continue to play. But he says, it's hard not to think about it. He said, if I was just a right or left-handed hitter, he said, I wouldn't have to think about it because there would be no discussion. I wouldn't be in it. But, when you start looking at his numbers as far as where he is among switch hitters, he truly is one of the great switch hitters to ever play the game right now.
Like to see him try it too, so 20 years from now he'll be glad that he did. Yeah, I think that's how he feels about what he did last offseason, to give it one more shot. The Yankees thought he was through. A lot of people in baseball thought he was through 2 years ago.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. Runners go again, and it's a walk. So Kelly has run into trouble here in this third inning. Nice job, Jim. He was sailing along until you arrived. His second walk. And that's his third hit, by the way, that he allowed in this inning was the single to Kadire.
From what I read on Twitter, I thought Ricky Horton was the guy that jinxed everything.
I have no control either. I'm just like you.
The thing about Berkman, he loves baseball. But you see him working hard to get back. He said that's the stuff he doesn't like. He's not one of the guys that enjoys the weight training or the working out. He loves playing baseball, and that's the price you have to pay to get back.
Right.
He's willing to pay it.
He also talked about being in the right situation, and this has been a perfect situation for him in St. Louis. Bases loaded for Chris Nelson. Big gap into left center. And it's 0-2. It was 0-2 on Colvin when he popped that 3-run homer.
A couple of things have happened this inning to Joe Kelly. First, the error by Molina that he had to try to mentally overcome. Then throwing a bad 0-2 pitch that was entirely on him. And then again, just trying to mentally get that behind you and say, okay, let me go from here. And he's struggling to do that.
Rick, from a player's perspective, inside that Rockies dugout, they look out and they see this place is packed and it's close to 100 degrees. I mean, it's amazing, these fans, the way they come out.
I don't see many empty seats. Fans are great here, and players love to come to St. Louis. We hear it from them, and they're not just playing up to us either. They believe that wholeheartedly.
Ground ball, and Kelly's got it, and will get out of this jam, but damage is done. One swing of the bat by Colvin. A 3-run homer. Jim Tracy and the Rockies, their first lead. Is brought to you by the new wireless receiver from AT&T Uverse. Visit att.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. MyKiaSt.Louis.com. And right now at Jack in the Box, you can try the new Chipotle Chicken Club Combo for just $4.99 plus tax. From the paratroopers plane. Oh. How did we get that footage? There were 8 of them that arrived on the grass, the ballpark.
Was T. West up there with him? He's shaking his head no. Emphatically no.
A fly ball by Kelly into right, and the catch is made for the first out. Yeah, he looked at you like, are you crazy? No, I wouldn't do that. Brings in Rafael Furcal, who grounded back to the pitcher first time up. Footage was provided by the St. Louis Cardinals, we understand, and whoever that was, you're a better man than me, or woman. Never know. We've got cameramen and women that work for Fox Sports Midwest.
Yes, we do. Very close to us as we speak. Jeff Francis has been much better than what we saw here last night from the Colorado Rockies pitchers in terms of throwing strikes. And with the 75 pitch limit, it becomes important with a pitcher who's not pitching that poorly to be able to stay in as long as possible. And I wonder if Jim Tracy, if all of a sudden Jeff Francis gets hot here, if he's going to be tempted to keep him in longer.
You'd think he'd have to be. Fox Sports is proud to support Boys and Girls Club of America, a place where youth can reach their full potential. Productive, caring, responsible citizens. GreatFutures.org/Fox Sports to find out more. Francis coming into play tonight had allowed 3 runs over his last 3 outings. And he actually has a 3-game winning streak against the Cardinals that dates back to 2006. First round pick of the Rockies back in 2002. First 6 seasons of his career with the Rockies organization. Missed all of 2009. Last year with Kansas City. 2-1 is a ground ball and a base hit. Francis decided to let that go, and that's one of those times that he made a poor decision not to field it himself.
I think he thinks that Scutaro was up the middle, but he was shading to the right side for the left-handed batting Jay, and he did. He let it go thinking Scutaro would have it. Couple of hits for John Jay. And you've got to make a decision this quickly. Boom. Do I catch it? Nah, I don't. Well, maybe I should have.
Remember, Francis was their ace in 2007. Team made it to the World Series. Former teammate at the plate, Matt Holliday, just homered off him.
Think about the instincts that go into that particular decision that Jeff Francis had to make, which is the way the game of baseball is really played often. You've got to make a decision really without much time to think about it. You're not going to weigh the pros and cons. I'll get back to you later. You've got to decide right away in a split second whether to swing at a pitch, catch a ball, charge it, stay back, go to the left, go to the right, and sometimes you're wrong.
1 ball, 1 strike here on Matt Holliday. Short lead at first by John Jay. Holliday at the start of play tonight, 8th overall in batting average in the National League. It's now up to .313. It's been quite a homestand for Holliday and Alan Craig. You sandwich Beltran in the middle of those two, and Jeff Francis is thinking this is one of the better lineups in the National League.
You bet it is. Up-to-date numbers there with Holliday's 2nd home run of the homestand. How about another one?
2-1 pitch. Base hit out to left. He went down to get that one too.
Another example of Matt Holliday with his leg kicked, but his hands are still back. And even though his leg is already committed, he can go down and get that ball and drive it because his hands have not committed too soon. And so Carlos Beltran with an opportunity to get the Cardinals back in the lead. So when multiplied by 2 day, 40 home runs, 126 RBIs.
Strike to Beltran, who grounded out to third first time.
Carlos Gonzalez, an outstanding arm, and looked like he was going to throw to second and then fired, or throw to third, then fired back into second, hoping to get John Jay off the bag. 3 outfield assists for Gonzalez this year, but he is rated one of the top 3 arms in all of baseball, and we just saw why. Rick Ankiel's on that list.
No surprise there.
Jeff Francoeur as well.
No surprise there either. 1 ball, 1 strike on Beltran. RBI every 4.3 at bats. That's how good he has been this year. 1-1 pitch. He's trying to make it 10 consecutive games with an RBI. He's closing in on the Cardinals' all-time record of 12. He hits a home run every 13 ABs. List goes on and on. The positive things offensively that Beltran has done. Rick used to play with Ripper Collins and remembers this fondly.
No, that was Jack the Ripper Clark, who's actually at the ballpark tonight. I got a chance to see Jack. Yeah, wrong Ripper. Ripper Collins a little before my time, 1935. We are told, none of us were there, that he drove in runs in 12 straight games. And I believe whoever told us that.
I forget which lefty I'm working with played in that era.
I'm telling him.
The 2-2 pitch to Beltran. Here it comes. This is where the Cardinals lineup can be unforgiving. Holiday, Beltran, Craig, Molina, Freeze.
Pick your poison.
Beltran is sitting on 20 home runs this year. He'll stay there. Bases loaded for Alan Craig. First walk issued by Jeff Francis. You called it Craig's landing out in center field.
Well, I called it that because he hit two balls at just about the same spot. About 850 feet of home runs. I think you get to name a little area after yourself if you do that. It was only fitting. You know, there's certain teams and certain lineups, as Bo McLaughlin has a word with Jeff Francis, no relation to Dan McLaughlin, we should say. There's certain teams where you would be a little more concerned about your cleanup hitter walking in an RBI situation because he's your guy. And if he walks, then the next guy you're not so happy about. But the Cardinals don't have a lineup like that. As you mentioned, you got Alan Craig behind you. Beltran's walked 41 times. That's a good thing for the St. Louis offense. More RBI opportunities for Allen.
Bases loaded for Alan Craig. Fastball and a strike. Remember when Francis first arrived on the scene, Rick? He was a guy that he's tall. He's around 6'6", lanky, and could throw fairly hard too. And now he'll top out around 86 to 88.
Always been a good pitcher, though. I was surprised when he kind of went south for a while. Injuries had something to do with that, but he was very coveted in 07. By all of baseball. 17-game winner in Colorado, and really he was as good as any left-hander in the National League that year. Hitting well with runners in scoring position. Not as well with two outs.
1-1 pitch. Ripped foul. Craig flied out to right first time up. Outfield is deep and straight away. Rockies with a 3-2 lead in the home half of the third. Here's a 1-2. Broken bat and a line out. Holiday had to avoid the bat, and the concentration by Chris Nelson to put it away. 3-2 Rockies. Go to visitmo.com and you can start planning your next Missouri getaway. You're taking a look at fantastic caverns in Springfield. This is America's only ride-through cave, and the cave is a wonderful experience, and you'll enjoy the beauty of a natural cave without long walks or steep climbs. Fantastic caverns. Find out more at visitmo.com. Pitch by pitch, and let's take a look at how they went after Alan Craig.
Started him out with a fastball and a big at-bat in this game, and then he goes away with a fastball, misses there. 1-1 to Craig at this point. The bases are loaded. Big opportunity there. He left a breaking ball in the middle of the plate, and then finally breaks his bat. The line drive to the left side does not produce a hit. Not a bad at-bat for Alan Craig, but Jeff Francis able to escape that mini jam there in the third inning.
And Rick on the other side, now you're Joe Kelly. You get last inning over with, which was a bump in the road thus far. And you started up with the bottom of the lineup here with Rosario.
Well, you look on the scoreboard and you realize you've only given up 3 hits. It's not as if the Rockies are pounding him all over the place. The changeup 0-2 to Colvin, you know, you're going to have that in the back of your mind at some point. But he really hasn't pitched that poorly. He was very good, 6 up, 6 down in the first 2, and just kind of started another string again.
Very busy offseason for the Rockies, changing the look and the complexion of their major league team. They traded Chris Iannetta, Houston Street, who is an all-star, Ian Stewart, Ty Wigginton, Seth Smith, all played roles with this team and this franchise the last couple of years. 3-1.
Rosario getting a chance to play every day. 14 home runs, leads all rookies. And he has 3 of those home runs in his last 16 at-bats. So be careful with him. 3-1.
And it's a leadoff walk, not what you want to do. The second walk issued by Kelly tonight. You have the final say, and you can vote for David Freese as the final National League All-Star. Go to Cardinals.com and cast your All-Star Game final vote. Send David Freese to the All-Star Game in Kansas City. And voting will end Thursday at 3. Thursday at 3, and just head to Cardinals.com. Very easy to do. And vote David in. And that's a ball taken low and away from the 8th place hitter, Herrera. Switch hitter, their shortstop tonight.
Herrera getting the start. He's been much better from the left side, close to 270, only 140 from the right side. At some point, a switch hitter has those kind of numbers. You start to think about maybe bagging one of those sides if the discrepancy is that big. More of a slap hitter. He walked, later scored in the third.
Rick, I mentioned I was talking with Lance Berkman before the game about being a switch hitter. He said his dad taught him how to switch hit by tying a tire hanging from a tree. He said just grab a bat, hit from both sides, learn to swing the bat, pound that tire. And there's a base hit out to left. Runner will hold at second base. The first two have reached, and it brings in Francis. Base hit by Herrera on base for the second time to go along with a walk, and now a chance for Francis to help his cause.
Hit and run. Rosario takes off. Herrera goes the other way. Rosario thinking about third, but credit Matt Holliday for charging that ball hard. Holliday does have 5 assists from left field, surprisingly. That's something he's really worked at, and the way you get that is by charging balls and cutting down the distance. And now a bunting situation for sure for Jeff Francis.
Last time up, fielder's choice E2 as Molina took a chance at trying to get the runner at second base and could not. That is a fair ball. Out at third and on to first. It's a double play. Almost the identical play that we saw the first time up with Jeff Francis. This time Yachty going to third. The Cardinals are the top 5 of the National League in turning double plays.
And that's what big leaguers do. It doesn't work the first time, but I'm going to be aggressive, make sure it works this time. Really not much question that that's the right place to go for Molina. Again, Francis having trouble getting out of the box. He's just not getting the bunts far enough away from the Gold Glove catcher.
I think the Rockies may have had a beef as far as that being a foul ball.
On that particular replay, yes.
Yeah.
But let's not show that particular replay again. Unless you want to see it, Dan.
I'm good.
All right.
Let's move on. Just to finish the point about Berkman and switch hitting, he said, my lesser side historically has been the right side, but you know, I'm always on the opposite side of this guy's strength, meaning right-hander, I'm hitting left side, vice versa. So I always felt that I've got an edge in that regard. Well, first base is open and Colvin is swinging. Coming into this series and now in this series, the hottest bat for the Rockies. 3-run homer back in the third. 2 balls and no strikes.
This is a guy that hit 150 a year ago and was absolutely lost. Everything he tried didn't work. Somewhere along the line, he made the adjustment to start using the whole field, and he's back on track again.
That's ball 4. 2 walks in the inning, 3 in the game. Runners at first and second. 2 down for Scutaro. StubHub, you can be here in person next time you want to take in a game, here or on the road. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. Better pay attention.
I'm glad they have their gloves. They're awful close, however.
Scutaro has fly to right, fly to center. Off speed pitch and a strike. He spent time with the Mets, the A's, Blue Jays last season with the Red Sox. Marcos Hernandez Scutaro. Marcos Scutaro. Think about scary situations. You saw the bat break with Craig, and Colvin was involved in a play that punctured his lung a couple of years ago. You know, the fans with those liners, you get a little nervous about that. Well, Scutaro was hit by Steven Strasburg, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball just a week ago on the helmet.
Saw a replay of that, and
scary.
It was just a blur. Caught him very solid, too, and they were really amazed that he only missed 1 game.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Ground ball off the glove of Kelly. For Kyle Barahands, no play. It's a base hit and nowhere to put Carlos Gonzalez.
So the problem with pitching around Tyler Colvin is if you don't get Marco Scutaro, now you've got to face Carlos Gonzalez. And oh, so close to that being the end of the inning.
It didn't seem like it last night. Score became lopsided at the end, but midway through, the most important at bat in the game, arguably, bases loaded, Loesch on the mound, game was tied. You may look back and say this is the most important at bat of the game tonight.
He was facing Kadire. That came in the 5th inning. Now we're in the 4th inning, and I would agree. The RBI potential of Gonzalez, the power potential. The Rockies, with their good offense, have to feel that they have Joe Kelly on the ropes. If he gets him out, now maybe you can sail a couple of more innings if you're Joe Kelly.
And you say that because this is unquestionably the most dangerous man in their lineup.
Good changeup.
1 ball, 1 strike. Gonzalez was obtained in the Matt Holliday deal in 2008 from Oakland. Initially, he was signed as a 16-year-old with Arizona. And he was part of the Dan Herron deal with the A's. So some pretty big players knowing that eventually this guy would turn into a star, and he has. 2-1.
Not to just exaggerate the point about how good he is, but I think it's realistic. If you had to say who is the best player in the National League, best player, period, I think a lot of people would vote for this man, Carlos Gonzalez.
The 2-1 pitch. Fly ball. Backing up for COL. He's got it. Rockies will strand the bases loaded. Field for COL was able to put it away. Let's go pitch by pitch, Rick.
Well, it's a big at bat in this game. Fastballs up in the zone. No place to put the best hitter, perhaps in the National League. Used an off-speed pitch and a fastball away, and hits that outside corner. And Gonzalez comes off just a bit, ends up in a pop out, and Cardinals dodge a bullet.
Here's Yadier Molina. Ground ball left side, and nice play down at third. Taken there by Nelson. And Yadi is 0 for 2. With all the struggles, as you mentioned, Rick, of this pitching staff, Jim Tracy will be faced at some point with a pitch count next inning or two of taking Jeff Francis out.
Right.
But yet, if he's pitching like this and giving you a chance to win, to me, you question that. It's not. The purpose is to win the game.
Well, if we see him texting Dan O'Dowd in the middle of the 5th or 6th inning, we'll know what that's all about. But I think it's been decided that's the way it is, period, regardless of the game situation. And I think they've said, yes, we want to win the game, but we want to win games long term, and we have to do some developing here, and that's just.
I'm channeling my inner Herm Edwards here.
Okay.
You play to win the game. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, he's the former Jets head coach in a famous press conference. Also coached across the state with the Chiefs, but was questioned about strategy, and he said, you play to win the game.
I totally remember that.
Not quite playoffs. It wasn't quite that, but there's been some doozies along the way.
And this isn't just practice either.
Right.
We're not just talking about practice.
We're talking about practice. Allen Iverson.
That's my favorite.
The 2-2. Tapped foul.
No, this is the real deal for Jim Tracy, and it's a real decision, and he's got a real job to do, and he's got a real job he wants to keep.
He is up after this year.
And winning's part of that, but also following the rules is another part.
2 balls and 2 strikes. David Freese, you can vote him in at Cardinals.com, one of the remaining players, and a chance to head to the All-Star game. Little bit low. Count runs full. Freese is sitting on 13 home runs. Ground ball, off-speed pitch out in front, pounds it in the ground. 2 away. Skip Schumacher, stars for baby Risa, and that's coming up July 19th. It's a Saturday night at Sunrise United Methodist Church. And had a chance to meet the parents, Stutzmans, and that's baby Risa. They're raising money for Risa. Truly an amazing story the parents are going through, and is a terminal disease. Their daughter will pass away here in the next couple of months, and Skip is raising money for that family, and then the family, with the funds that are raised, and they're anticipating hundreds of thousands of dollars, that they want to start a foundation for terminally ill children and their families. 1-1 pitch. You can go to babyrisa.com and see the updates that the family has with pictures and video. Pretty amazing stuff. Mike Matheny took half the proceeds of his golf tournament without ever meeting the Stutzmans. Wrote them a check.
But he had met Skip Schumacher.
And that was enough for him.
And that was enough for him. Skip is an outstanding teammate, well respected in the clubhouse, and really a lot of this comes from some real personal angst from him. A couple of friends have had really difficult issues during this offseason, and he just wants to do what he can.
Off the glove of the shortstop. Sean Stutzman, the father of Risa, is his best friend from high school. It's Krabbe disease, Krabbe disease. Dan, Rick, and Jim with you, and I found out more in talking with the parents about it, but the parents think they're born with this healthy baby. They have no idea, and this can be prevented. It can be prevented if checked properly. The baby will lose sight, hearing, muscle strength, and eventually pass away. So let's get together and raise some money on a very special night. Blues, Rams, Cardinals, and even some national celebrities have signed up for this. Kelly pops it foul and out of play. 2 outs and a runner at first.
Kelly has shown the ability to swing the bat, Dan, and they're crediting Tyler Green with a base hit on that line drive up the middle. I was a little iffy on that, but good for Tyler. The defense for Colorado has not been particularly sound this year either. We've talked a lot about their pitching and some about their defense, but their defense has been shaky. You wouldn't expect Tyler Green to run with a pitcher at the plate. For Rosario has a cannon, thrown out 11 out of 36 runners, but a lot of pass balls, a lot of errors, a lot of wild pitches for this Rockies team.
They set up outside, and here comes an 0-2 pitch to Kelly. A swing and a miss and a pitch in the dirt. They tag out Kelly. The paratroopers, we've seen some unique shots along the way. How about this one? Getting queasy. Whoa! Located next to Gate 5, and this Friday it's Lance Lynn. He'll be signing autographs out there. Visit Cardinals.com/promotions for more details. The All-Star Lance Lynn Bush Bash this Friday. Lance Lynn will pitch in this series. Said he was a bit surprised getting the nod, and he said, I was surprised, but then really I wasn't.
He can hardly contain his excitement.
He's pumped.
You know, that's kind of how he is, though. He's very kind of low-key in his demeanor. And he's even low-key when he's on the mound. I think that serves him well. Not overly emotional, but certainly confident.
Michael Kadire. Spent his first 14 years of pro ball with Minnesota. 9th overall pick in 1997. He was the Twins All-Star rep last year. We're in the top of the 5th, 3-2 Rockies. And a ground ball that's hit to short. For Kyle, steps and throws, makes the play.
Good start.
Kadire is 1 for 3. The pitch count at 75.
We don't have to take our guy out.
I'm looking out in the bullpen, and it's empty out there for the Cardinals on top of their pitching mounds.
Mike Matheny has to be happy with what Joe Kelly was able to do in that 4th inning. You've got the bases loaded. You've got one of the top 3 hitters, arguably, probably on anybody's list, frankly, in the National League, and Carlos Gonzalez. You're able to get him out. And he's still throwing 94, 95.
There's Todd Helton. If you're wondering, Jeff Francis is at 66 pitches. We saw last night their starter, the lefty Outman, who's from Lindbergh High School and Central Missouri State, Forest Park Community College. He couldn't find the zone, and we were wondering why wasn't there anybody up and throwing. And in this piggyback system, the idea is that the next guy in, once you get to the true relievers, but after the first or even after the second pitcher, the idea is they start the inning fresh. They don't come in the middle of an inning. So that guy is just left out there to try to get through it. And that's what they did yesterday with Outman.
Unless it's an important situation and they really need to go and get him, they'll bring in a different reliever just to pitch to a batter or two, and then let the second starter come out to start that full inning. And I wonder how hard and fast they are on 75. I mean, is it 2-2 count, 75 pitches? We'll find out next half inning.
Strikeout for Kelly of Todd Helton. Second time he's gotten Helton.
And he can add to that story with his friends. And then I struck out Todd Helton again.
Right. Here's Nelson. He has struck him out too. Does it carry the same weight?
Nope.
Not quite?
Nope.
And then I got Chris Nelson. Talked about the leg kick of Matt Holliday, Carlos Gonzalez, and the same can be said here for Nelson.
They're happy with him. Batting average just around 270 all season long. He's a guy that has the ability to play both third and second base, so really nothing wrong with what he's done. Pitching still their issue. Thought that ball might have hit off his foot, but nobody thinks it, just you and me, so I guess
neither does Nelson. He didn't sell it.
Guess it's a 1-2-3 inning.
Come your way. Note the start time at 5:30 on the 4th of July. 5:30 tomorrow, early start time. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. They start to stretch out in the bullpen for the Rockies, but nobody is up and throwing.
Shouldn't they be doing more than that?
66 pitches, you would think. If you're going to stay to
a good
pitch
inning,
count of 75.
Yeah, a good inning is 12 or 13 pitches.
Here's Rafael Furcal, and he takes a ball outside. Furcal is grounded back to the pitcher and also grounded out to short. Furcal, Jay, and Holliday. Popped up. from the leadoff man. Helton is called off by the second baseman Scutaro. And for Calva's 0 for 3.
Stretching some more in the Rockies bullpen. Milling about. No one throwing yet.
Well, it's a very hot night again. Very muggy. 97 degrees with the game time temperature. Some guys, as we've seen in the past, sweat more than others. And if anybody lived through the Esteban Yan era, you know what I'm talking about.
Ray Burris was like that. Teammate
He's in the
of mine.
Hall of Fame of all-time sweaty men. Esteban Yan.
Ray would be honorable mention.
And my question would be, from a pitching perspective, how does that affect the grip on the baseball?
Some pitchers like it, some don't. Some want the tacky feel, some want the sweaty feel. And that's why you have all the problem with rosin bags and pine tar that some pitchers use illegally. And the pine tar is meant to give you that tacky feel. But others like the kind of sweaty feel. I did. Felt like I could grip the baseball better that way.
And that's my question. Would it give you a better grip of the ball?
I like the fingertip feel, but others like the tacky grip feel. So really, I'd say about half and half, probably depending on whether you're a sinker ball pitcher or curveball pitcher.
We noticed that Matt Holliday knocked the G out of Big Mac land.
Did he ever?
The ball is still sitting inside the G of Big Mac land. Sponsor McDonald's, the Big Mac land out there.
We're going to get our parachutists to come and try to replace that on the way down tomorrow.
And knowing those guys as good as they are, they probably could.
I can ask them.
Are they here?
They were just a moment ago. I'll go find them.
Holliday with a 2-run homer tonight, also a single. Remember when they knocked the I out of Big Mac land, and that was in game, and knocking the G out was done during batting practice tonight. That baseball is still up there. So that was during BP, and then we get to live action first inning, and no doubt about this one.
Not quite as high, but he hit it just as hard. Low line drive just snuck over the wall. At the time, it gave the Cardinals a 2-0 lead. So we have found out that the pitch count is not a hard number, 75. Plus or minus something.
You know, from Jim Tracy's perspective, that's really, it's got to tie his hands, though, and some of the moves that you want to make and what you want to do. Holliday, opposite way. This is well hit, but it'll stay in the ballpark. Caught on the track. Dyer was there to put it away, and Francis is through 5. AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Ford, the official vehicles of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. Rockies last year were 73-89. They finished fourth in the West. But tonight they have a lead of 3-2 against Joe Kelly and the Cardinals. Rosario, Herrera, and the pitcher spot is due up. Right-hander getting loose in the pen for the Rockies, so we assume that's it for Jeff Francis, and that might be the best thing for the Cardinals.
It may be. The bullpen has not been as bad as the starting rotation for Colorado, but still, you got a guy on a roll like that. That's the problem of doing the 75 pitch limit, is you've got to take him out. You're committed to doing it, and your next guy might not be as good. The sinking fastball. Joe Kelly, the 3/4 delivery. Still has movement and velocity.
Here's a 1-1 pitch, taken a little bit low. Saw where Chris Carpenter has moved from the dugout out to the bullpen. 14th time in the history of baseball that pitchers won 2 deciding games in postseason play. Last to do it before Carpenter was Andy Pettit. 3rd time it happened in Cardinals history. Suppan, you might remember, did it. And that's a swing and a miss.
Strikeout number 5.
1982, your former teammate, not at that time, but later in your career, Joaquin Andujar did it in 1982.
Very colorful Joaquin Andujar. There's that sinking fastball again, right underneath the hands of Rosario.
Cardinals will celebrate the 82 championship team, and just about every one of those players is going to make their way back to the Gateway City when the Cardinals take on Milwaukee, and that should be just a great weekend. You've got Hall of Famers and Bruce Sutter, Whitey Herzog, Ozzie Smith, part of that team. They'll all be here, and a number of other players will be here as well.
Well, from my point of view, you look at those guys and you think of the great players that were there, great Cardinals that were there, World Series heroes, but they're also really good friends too. So it's nice to have them back together again and have an experience, or they had an experience in '82, along with the fans here in St. Louis and beyond, that people just have not forgotten. Bruce Sutter, that last pitch in '82. I was a Cardinal minor leaguer at the time. I was back in college, studying away, watching that on TV with my friends, and just not
Norman Thomas.
Not really a Cardinal yet, but sure did love that moment.
Here's a ground ball that's hit to third. Freeze makes the play. Bruce Sutter have his bobblehead. You know that you have arrived when you've gotten your own bobblehead. And Bruce will have the bobblehead coming up in the '82 weekend. Krispy Kreme doesn't deal. Cardinals get 9 hits tonight. You're invited into Krispy Kreme tomorrow. Visit one of the 4 St. Louis area Krispy Kremes for this sensational deal.
Here's a question. Why is Jeff Francis batting?
We assume he's coming out.
We know that Dexter Fowler has been dealing with some shoulder issues. Not as if Jeff Francis is best hitting pitcher in baseball.
And you know, you do have a switch hitter in Beltran. You want him to hit from one side of the plate to the other, but as we mentioned earlier, he wants, the idea is to have the pitcher start with a fresh inning. Nobody on and a fresh inning to go at it.
It really doesn't make any sense with what they've set in place here as an organization in terms of their rules, but it would make sense to me only if you are going to send him out to pitch to Beltran.
Here's a 2-1 pitch.
And that's the problem that Jim Tracy's going to have more often than not, trying to manage this piggyback situation.
2-2. And a fly ball into left center on the move. John Jay, and he's got it. Cardinals coming up, part of the lineup. Beltran, Craig, and Molina. Come out to the Taco Bell All-Star Sunday, and that's July 8th. 2 exciting events and fireworks to end the evening. Sirius XM All-Star Futures game. Also, you can come see the Hall of Famers and Royals legends and your favorite celebrities in the Taco Bell All-Star Legends and Celebrity Softball game. Tickets are available right now at allstargame.com or call 1-888-FANFEST. They let Francis hit for himself, and they bring in a new pitcher. It's our Chevy called to the bullpen.
Well, the only thought I can have about why Jim Tracy did that is his bench must be a little bit lighter than he's been able to let on in terms of guys who are dealing with some kind of injuries. We saw Eric Young play yesterday. He played center field. He did dive a couple of times, and you know, who knows, maybe he has 2 or 3 players that he'd rather not use, and so he's saving his bullets on the bench. And one of the other issues is if you're going to have to use a bunch of pitchers throughout the day, maybe you have to let your guy hit with 2 outs and nobody on.
And the idea being that if you need that pinch hitter late in the game, you waste him here, why do it?
I could see saving Giambi. That one's clear to me. But you get Eric Young to pinch hit, get him on in front of Tyler Colvin. Why not take a shot at that?
Good point. Beltran, Craig, Molina for St. Louis. And that's hit out of play. You and I were talking before the game about the impact of Chris Carpenter and what he has meant not only to this year, knowing exactly his situation, his status, but just in general, the impact that Chris Carpenter has made on this franchise. And it's been nothing short of spectacular, and truly will go down as, and again, we're hoping he pitches next year, but it'll go down as one of the great free agent signings the Cardinals have ever made.
Agreed.
Nice play by Helton. He's won multiple Gold Gloves at first.
And the elements of that free agent signing again are you're taking a guy that's hurt and you're not 100% sure is going to be better, but you think he will be. And he sat out a year and then he came back and he was outstanding, better than he was before. There's the ball hit right on the nose. Helton may not have the same range he used to have, but still has the good hand.
So he is shut down. He will have surgery. The Cardinals are hopeful and expect him to be healthy next year.
Really a melancholy moment looking at him sitting down there in that bullpen by himself.
And now the spotlight shines on Jaime Garcia. His future also complicates what you may do. Nothing into the count on Allen Craig. Meanwhile, future so bright here for Allen Craig. Young player and putting up great numbers.
Craig has very good plate coverage. Pitchers are not quite sure how to pitch to him. Slightly crouched.
And it's another broken bat. Hit to third. 2 outs. Jeff Francis goes 5 innings tonight. 5 hits, 2 runs. They were earned. He walked 1, struck out 2, and gave up the home run to Matt Holliday. We're at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, home to the defending world champs. Dan McLaughlin, Rick Horton, Jim Hayes with you. And 2 scoring plays. Holliday's 2-run shot and Colvin a 3-run homer.
There have been other opportunities in this game. Joe Kelly came up with a pitch when he needed it. Jeff Francis did the same. Both of them pitching with bases loaded in the 3rd inning. And they both got out of it. Kelly had to do it again in the 4th.
Two and 1 the count. 2 down. Nobody on for Yadier Molina. It's a liner into center field, and that is a base hit. A base hit for Yadi.
A couple of relievers have had a lot of innings out of the bullpen. In fact, Renegade has the most in baseball with 48 innings. Matt Belisle is 3rd with 43. Both their numbers pretty good. ERA's very good. Colvin, the center fielder, not able to get this base hit off the bat of Molina, but he does the next best thing, and that's keeping it in front of him. That ball goes to the wall. That would have been interesting.
Extends the inning to David Freese. Freese, ground ball, left side and foul.
That ball very close to being fair. To the naked eye, I thought that went over the 3rd base bag. Got to play it out anyway. It's where the ball is as it goes over the bag. And Dan's eyes were better than mine.
People could see the reactions that the 3 of us give each other with certain things that might be said throughout a telecast. What? And the notes that are written back and forth.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad we throw those away.
Yes. Freese hits it out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Hey, we're on the air about 150 times live television. You know, some things may happen there.
And we try to minimize those.
Yes, we do.
Al and I were disagreeing about whether bunting was easy the other night. Were you aware of that little conversation? I think you should break that tie. Is bunting easy or not? Don't say maybe.
I'll be honest with you. I did not hear the conversation, but my 6-year-old can bunt.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's easy.
Oh, you and Al are on the same side. There we go again.
But the reality is it's very hard.
I should. You can't take both sides.
To work with both you guys.
I know.
Right down the middle. That's where I'm going to be. Yachty is running, and he's got a stolen base. How about that? He could have walked to second base.
I think if he got just a bit quicker of a jump, he might have been able to steal third, too, on that pitch. This is ridiculous. There he goes. Is it that simple? And what I don't understand, I don't always fault the pitcher because you don't have eyes in the back of your head. But where are the infielders yelling, step off? That's all you've got to do. Todd Helton should say, step off immediately. That's what infielders are taught to do. Now, are they not hearing him? Are they not saying it? And really, it shouldn't just be Todd Helton. Every infielder should see that.
Tying run in scoring position. 3-2 pitch. Slowly hit left side. And Freeze is retired. Cardinals have stranded 5. We head to the 7th. 3-2 Rockies. On the field. It's the road to the World Series. Home field advantage will be decided that night next Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 here in the Midwest, and it's only on Fox. 2002 was the tie game, so in 2003 it began why it matters. Home field advantage is won by the winning league in the postseason for the World Series, and in those 9 years, the team that has home field advantage has won the series 6 out of 9 times. We saw it played a major factor last year, undoubtedly, with Tony La Russa and the Cardinals.
Yeah, and beating a dead horse talking about not being in favor of that one particular game being such an important decider in what happens in October, but that's the way we have it. Those are our rules, and we're going to abide by them and hope for a National League victory on Tuesday, July 10th on Fox.
New pitcher is in, and a lefty that had a fine debut over the weekend, Rick.
Sure did. He made it look simple, not overpowering, just kind of threw strikes and got him out and walked off the field. And you think, wow, is it that simple? He walked into a bullpen that has been in a bit of disarray and really kind of settled it down. And he's earned another spot out there in a one-run game. How about that?
He's a guy that, when you look at his resume, he has paid his dues to get to this point. In the minor leagues, a long time. Fly ball, center field off the bat of Tyler Colvin for the first out. Jay is there, one away. His name is Barrett Browning. Late Friday night, he got word that he was coming up after 6.5 years in the minor leagues. He'd never posted an ERA better than 2.80. John Booch on the right, Cardinals farm director, the assistant GM. Mr. Gersh there on the left.
They saw something in him, as did the scouts that seen Browning pitch and thought, well, you know what, we're going to take a chance on him. Minor League Rule 5 draft. And it was a good spin for him, that's for sure.
30 appearances with the Redbirds this year. He was 2-3, 1.89 ERA.
Like Joe Kelly having a career year, and he's gotten rewarded for it.
He's 27, drafted by the Angels. And now with St. Louis, the 1-1 pitch. Make that strike two. And he was saying before the game that for him to get to the next level, something clearly had to change. And he did that. Added a two-seam fastball. He's talked about the changeup to complement his slider, and he added those two pitches this offseason. There's that slider and a strikeout.
That was a sharp slider. That was nasty there, down and in. Sneaky fast, too. He's only throwing about 87, 88 miles an hour, but the ball kind of jumps on hitters a little quicker than they appear to be ready, and that slider is an equalizer.
He was saying, Rick, he wouldn't change anything about his journey, though, to get to the big leagues. The 6.5 years, being stubborn, not adding the two pitches until this last offseason. And by his account, he said, I probably would have been in the big leagues earlier if I added those pitches, because it has made a difference. He was 17 when he was drafted the first time. Boston took him in the 6th round. He went to junior college. Cubs drafted him the following year. Then he decided to go to Florida State. He was a teammate of outfielder Shane Robinson. The Angels then drafted him in the 28th round, and then drafted in the Rule 5. Broken bat and a 1-2-3 inning. He's making it look easy.
How about that?
It's time to stretch here at Busch Stadium. 3-2 Rockies. who has the Cardinals' all-time highest average against Colorado. Now a coach also hit for the cycle against Colorado. That's John Mabry. The last Cardinal, if memory serves correct, to hit for the cycle was Mark Grudzielanek. And against Colorado, Mabry 351, then Langford and Pujols.
John's cycle was a natural cycle, meaning he had a single, then a double, then a triple, then a home run in order.
Just to finish up the story on Berkman and visiting with him today, I said, what's it mean when a guy like Matt Carpenter says that he grew up idolizing you? And he said, it's the best feeling in the world because I really want to teach the game. It's something that I want to do beyond playing after my playing days are over. Then he followed that up and he said that, well, I'm also really old too, and I'm getting older. We may have a little challenge here about how this is done.
Exactly.
We'll talk about it when we come back with this change. Carsoup.com and our email the booth question. This is Archie, and he asks, when was the last time the Cardinals had this many reps at the All-Star game? And back in 2005, Cardinals had Carpenter, Eckstein, Edmonds, Izzy, Pujols, Rolen, and the manager was Tony La Russa. You had Dave Duncan, Marty Mason, Dave McKay, Oquendo, Bettini, and Barry Weinberg. So it was a Cardinal theme back in 2005.
I'll say. The issue in between innings is the right-hander went out to pitch. He did his warm-up tosses. The Cardinals pinch hit for Tyler Green. And the new speed-up rule is you can't bring a pitcher out to pitch in an inning and then take him out. He has to face the batter unless there's a pinch hitter. So that's what Jose Oquendo and Mike Matheny were both questioning with the home plate umpire Tim Welke.
And here's your pinch hitter, Matt Carpenter. Astros and Pirates tied up at 7-7. That's in the top of the ninth. .95 from this lefty.
There were times that Tony La Russa would bring a pitcher out who was already in the game, and he would do his warm-up tosses for the next inning, and he would wait till then to bring in his reliever to buy more time to get that reliever ready. And this is actually a speed-up rule to keep that from happening.
One ball and two strikes. The swing and a miss. Nope, foul tip by Carpenter. Talked about it a lot this year. He's been very impressive in staying in games, and Mike Matheny not pulling him back to face left-handed pitching. In the dirt.
This is where the game becomes a chess match of using pieces that you have at your disposal and when to use them. Descalzo on deck, also hitting from the left side. He will pinch hit for Browning.
Here's another 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strikeout of Carpenter.
Got him to chase a fastball up in the zone. Carpenter normally has very good plate awareness. Chase that one.
Pinch hitter is Daniel Descalso. And he picks up a base hit into right. A one-out hit. We're back to the top of the lineup for St. Louis. And the switch hitting Rafael Furcal.
Good at bat for Descalso. Be a good inning for the Cardinals to make something happen here at the top of the order. Furcal is 0 for 3 and now 0 for his last 10. He's been streaky over the last 3 weeks. Get a few hits in a row, then he'll go 0 for, then he'll get a few hits in a row.
0 for 3 tonight. 2 ground outs and a pop out. Rex Brothers, the lefty, for the Colorado Rockies. A swing and a miss, a throw down to second. The hit and run was on, and Descalso is gunned down at second base. Brothers, a draft pick of the Rockies' first round of 2009. Was called up in June of last season.
There's the throw from Rosario. We've mentioned he has a good arm. Hit and run, so Descalso has to make sure he's not going to get picked off, and when Furcal swung through the pitch, he had no chance.
Here's the 0-2 pitch for Furcal. Little tapper, tough play here at short. Gloves, throws, safe. He's aboard. Extends the inning to John Jay. Infield hit for Furcal. Boy, Rick, how many times have we seen a guy with speed like Furcal pick up an infield hit, and then that's what gets him going, the speed.
And I think he was trying to do that in his first at-bat by bunting. Unfortunately, he bunted the ball right back to Jeff Francis. And, you know, they say that about Mickey Mantle. I read a biography of him when I was young, and really wish I'd had a chance to see him play, but they said that he was so fast early in his career, even though he's a power hitter, he'd bunt every once in a while just to get back on track.
See there that Furcal did not have a very good read against this lefty. He was leaning towards second. We're in the home half of the 7th with 2 down. Cardinals trail by a run, 3-2. Jay with 2 hits tonight takes a pitch down low. That's hit out of play and in the seats. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's a 1-1 pitch inside. 2 balls and 1 strike.
And all Cardinal fans that want to see the Redbirds get back in this game are asking the same question. Boy, I wish we hadn't hit and run. We'd have guys on first and second. But that's a part of baseball. You're trying to make something happen, get things moving. Makes a lot of sense. And you really can't fault Daniel Descalzo, just a pitch that Furcal could not get the bat on. And a hit and run is different than a steal. A hit and run, you don't leave as early. You're not. It's not a straight steal. You are relying on the hitter to make contact.
The 2-1 pitch. Instead a check on Furcal at first. Two and two.
It's the breaking ball, sharp, downward break away from left-handers, and that's why lefty and lefty can be so difficult. The ball moving away from you.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. They say that's the pitch that Brothers, all he did was work on this spring, was trying to locate the breaking ball, because we've seen the fastball is pretty good.
Yeah, and the breaking ball, probably the pitch he actually struck out on Carpenter on, was a breaking ball. It didn't have the downward tilt to it, but it had that little sharp little movement away that was up in the zone in that particular case. But he preferred to get the downward tilt to it, and the one that he threw to Jay for strike 2 is pretty nasty. It's the equalizer against left-handers.
Playing behind Rafael Furcal. There he goes. And that is taken outside. Didn't miss by much. And look who's coming up.
And look who's coming out.
A double switch upcoming here for Jim Tracy. Holiday, a 2-run homer back in the first, a single in the third. He flied out to deep right. He's coming up, and a chance to do damage when we come back. is the Rockies and now one of the faces of the Cardinals. We flash back. 163rd game of the season. Giles, the throw from right. Was he safe? Was he out? Still nobody really knows. He was called safe that night. And Holiday and the Rockies had finished their improbable comeback to head into postseason play. He homered against him last night. He's done so again tonight. And a look at his career numbers and what he's done with both these franchises, and he has been consistent to say the least.
Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of. 319 with Colorado, 313 with the Cardinals. Been one of the best hitters in baseball since coming over to St. Louis. RBI opportunity for him here. He already has both Cardinal RBIs. How about a couple of more?
He will face one of the positives and bright spots this year for the Rockies, and that's Matt Belisle. Runners at first and second. Ooh, what a rip by Holiday.
So the short starter means you're now using your fourth pitcher, and it's the 7th inning of a 3-2 game.
Belisle has been the primary setup man this year too.
Sooner or later, one of those guys you send out there is going to have a bad day.
Here's the 0-1. Holiday taps it towards third, and a tough play on the short hop, and the Cardinals will strand 2. We played 7 at Busch Stadium. The Rockies lead this ball game 3-2. The short hop, not an easy play at all. Daniel Descalso will stay in the ball game. And a reminder, let's head to our studio and a Bommarito Sports Update. All right, Pat, thank you. Milwaukee with a record of 38-42. The Cardinals 2.5 games back. Pittsburgh 1 game out back of Cincinnati. And they could be tied with the Reds depending on what happens tonight with the Reds in Los Angeles. Salas is into the ball game. Descalso at second base. And here is Michael Kadire. It's Kadire, Helton, and Nelson. Rockies with a 1-run lead here in the 8th inning. Kadire is flied out to center. He singled back in the 3rd and also grounded out to short. Starter tonight for St. Louis, Joe Kelly, 96 pitches, 62 were strikes. as he went 6 innings, and there's a strikeout for Salas. Fernando Salas just rearing back and hitting the outside corner with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Here's Helton, who's had a quiet night with a pair of strikeouts and a walk. Eighth overall pick back in 1995 from the University of Tennessee. Commonly referred to as Peyton Manning's backup. Story goes, Todd Helton was a great college athlete, not just a baseball player, but he was a QB, the gridiron. And when people say that he was Peyton Manning's backup, that's not true. He beat out Manning in 1994 to be the backup. And then eventually Helton got hurt. Manning took over. And the rest is history. I think, though, Todd would probably tell you eventually he would have been Peyton Manning's backup.
I would say so.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. 3 strikeouts for Todd Helton tonight.
A little late on his swings.
And the Cardinals, to back up and further your point, have just reared back and fired fastballs tonight at Todd Helton, haven't
Yeah,
they?
that fastball's by him, and we saw Joe Kelly do the same. Good start for Fernando Salas. Nice to see that. And again, looking backwards, Barrett Browning, Joe Kelly. You have to be thrilled with what the 2 rookies have done here tonight.
Now it's Nelson. Boy, how big would that be if Browning is potentially your second lefty and would give you some flexibility in that bullpen, because Sam Freeman, while there is a very good upside with him, a hard throwing lefty, was so inconsistent up here and needs time to get better in the minor leagues. Where a guy like Browning, he's been there, done that. Maybe he just needed a chance up here, and let's see if the Cardinals catch lightning in a bottle.
And Browning, like Kelly, seems to have figured something out this year, and that slider, really a plus pitch for him. And he seems to have command of it.
Here's the 0-2 pitch.
And maybe Fernando Salas is back on track.
He would be a vital player.
Well, I think he
in that bullpen.
Yeah, I think he and Zepchinski, hard to say it this way because there are guys that are certainly important on this team, but because of you're not sure which way they're going to go, they may be as important as anybody on this club right now as you think about what's going to happen over the next month to 6 weeks. I think everybody else that's contributing offensively, they're kind of givens. But the question marks go to the bullpen, and the guys that can make the big difference to me are Salas and Zepchinski.
Saw that shot there of Mike Matheny and Derek Lilliquist, and was talking with Derek before the game, and Dave Duncan said he never helped make a decision with Tony La Russa. Well, Derek Lilliquist says that's not quite the same with me and Mike Matheny. You know, takes in my input on just about every single guy in inning and what to do, and always asking for that input as Salas lets Nelson off the hook. 2-out walk. $41,701. 41701 the attendance tonight.
Outstanding.
And with 2 outs, extends the inning to Rosario. Cardinals will have Beltran, Craig, and Molina due up in the home half of the 8th. As time is called. And a ground ball hit to David Freese. Makes the play. Cardinals down by a run as we move to the bottom of the 8th. and easy drinking Busch Light. And by Taco Bell. Taco Bell, Live Más. Gorgeous night here in St. Louis. It's 3-2. As you've mentioned time and again, Rick, the pressure that's put on the bullpen of the Rockies time and again to come through, and a lot of things have to go right. That's the case again here tonight.
Well, when you use multiple pitchers, you're bound to have somebody have a bad day, and we'll see if that happens before it's over. Belisle got his man in the 7th inning, but still 6 more outs. Dyer Miller on the phone for St. Louis. So far, you've got to like what you've seen out of the Cardinals bullpen. That's as good a sign, even though the Cardinals trail here. I like what I've seen from the Cardinals pitchers here tonight. And I'll bet he does too.
Beltran is 0 for 2. Play very deep. 2 balls and no strikes. Beltran slicing one out to left center. And the catch is made by Gonzalez.
And the slicing, the problem. That looked like it might get in the gap, but it just kept veering off towards the left fielder, Gonzalez, who's very, very good in the outfield.
One-0 pitch. Seeing those guys jump out of the plane tonight, right up the alley of our pitcher here, Matt Belisle. He is a renowned fan of fighter jets. You knew that, didn't you?
I know it now.
Spring training out in Arizona. Does a little work on the field, and then that's his hobby. Talking to military personnel, and why not try to go 800 miles an hour? He's introduced to some of the personnel at Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix and opened up some pretty quick friendships with the pilots. Got a chance to go up in those planes.
I can admire him, but not doing it. And he is having a nice year out of the bullpen. And looks sharp tonight.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the Rockies, his teammates, had T-shirts that said, Tony La Russa, please select Matt Belisle. Didn't happen. Rockies having a down year, and Carlos Gonzalez, their lone selection. Breaking ball taken high.
Did the Reds have Johnny Cueto T-shirts?
I don't think so. Belisle just turned 32 back in early June. The 3-1 pitch to Yadi. Initially a second-round choice of the Braves back in 1998. You might remember his time with the Cincinnati Reds in the Central Division. Been both a starter and a reliever as this crowd comes alive. Got him. A strikeout of Molina sends us to the 9th. It's a 1-run lead for the Rockies.
Edition of Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Pat Paris and Al Roboski will be at Lumiere Place. Coming up, we go inside the numbers at the midway point. The latest on Chris Carpenter's season-ending surgery, plus another edition of Mic'd Up. Fernando Salas stays on to pitch for the Cards, and we head back to the booth. And Rick and Dan, guys.
Okay, Jim, thanks. And we've seen Mike Matheny do this a lot, where he'll keep a reliever in for a second inning, and why not with the way that Salas pitched in that first inning. I wonder, though, Rick, how tempted he was to say, boy, that's a good outing. Let's build on that and move forward.
Well, if he likes what he sees out of his mechanics and he appears to be in the right spot, then leave him out there. If he got kind of 3 outs and maybe he did it with mirrors, which sometimes happens, where you just guys get themselves out, or you're just all of a sudden have a 1-2-3 inning but didn't look sharp, you might let him stay out there, or you might take him out of those games and get him out while the getting's good. But he does look sharp.
There's Craig, and he's got it for the first out to start the 9th inning. Off the bat of Jonathan Herrera. Brings in Dexter Fowler. Our Schnucks difference maker, Tyler Colvin. Will it be the difference tonight? His 3-run homer on an 0-2 pitch back in the 3rd. Maybe wondering why Dexter Fowler has been out of the lineup dealing with a shoulder injury as he lines out to Descalso. He had a pair of hits on Sunday and did not start last night and not again tonight. You think of Salas when he's right, you think about movement, and we're seeing a little bit more movement out of his pitches tonight.
Yeah, life on his fastball. You also think about a dominating changeup when you think Fernando Salas. That's really still his pitch, his best pitch, his go-to pitch. Yeah, and the more he has that downhill plane, a lot like we talk about with Jake Westbrook, the better he is.
Eric Young was in the leadoff spot last night. Fouls one back for strike 1. Betancourt, the closer for the Rockies, getting loose. Young's dad is the former All-Star for the Rockies and current first base coach. for the Arizona Diamondbacks. EY Jr., 30th round pick, 2003 out of junior college. There's that movement. 1-2.
Velocity matters, location matters, and so does movement. Last second. Doesn't have to be a lot, just has to be late.
1-2 pitch. Got him. Strikeout for Salas. Freeze. Salas' spot, and Descalso due up against Betancourt. $6. You'll get any size drink all day tomorrow for just 50 cents at On the Run at Mobile. Rafael Betancourt. Last 7 days, not much work, and maybe you think that he could be a little rusty thinking about this closer and the lack of work that he's had the last 7 days.
Well, when you're a closer on a team that's not playing very well, you don't get a lot of work. That's the story. And he has been good when he has pitched. Really has impressed the Rockies broadcast folks talking about him, watching him. They say, boy, he is so not our problem. Starting pitching has been. He's kind of a journeyman himself, but he has had some flashes of brilliance, and this has that feel of a Cardinal rally to me. David Freese, Skip Schumacher is going to pinch hit. He is on deck. And we'll see if David Freese can get the Cardinals started.
Originally signed by the Boston Red Sox in 1999. As Schumacher's on deck to follow David Freese. He was with Cleveland and now Colorado. Four-seam fastball. He can hit the mid-90s. A slider, changeup. And the rally caps are out here in the bottom of the ninth.
Only 27 major league saves before this year, but he has had some very, very good seasons. ERA's in the ones.
And watch this windup. He will tap his foot on the rubber before he comes set. Not all the time. It's something that he has developed over the years. It's an odd windup to the plate.
And a bit of a lift that he does from his power foot as well. You don't normally think of a pitcher going up. You think of him going towards the plate, but he actually has a little movement up. Colorado 16 blown saves as a staff. Don't like to see the Redbirds on that list.
Now, there is a rule to avoid delays. A pitcher, if he takes at least 12 seconds to deliver a pitch, it's automatically ruled a ball. Betancourt one of the few pitchers in history that has had this rule enforced when on the mound.
Papelbon's another. Should we get the clock on it?
1 ball, 1 strike. You can see that slow delivery, and then in talking with some of the hitters about this before the game, they said it's a bit surprising because it's so slow, so deliberate, and then boom, 92, 93 miles an hour.
Really together, though. He's slow and then compact, and then he explodes.
See, taking a long time. Here's a 1-2 pitch.
Hittable pitch there. Caught more of the plate than he wanted. He was trying to go away.
I don't know how many times we talk about a runner at first, and Tony La Russa would do this all the time, would order it from the dugout, pitcher holds the ball, and how then that could play with a hitter. Well, Betancourt does that right now with nobody on, just taking his time. Even Freese, a couple of times you just see he's a little upset.
Trying to make a hitter anxious.
Exactly. Here's a 1-2 pitch on its way. A 1-2 delivery. Freese gets a piece again. Good battle here. Freese is 0 for 3. Again, you can vote for David, one of the finalists for the All-Star game. Cardinals.com.
Deep in the outfield. No doubles defense.
On 1-2. Freese pulls it foul. Good to see Jose Oquendo back.
You bet.
Another 1-2 pitch on its way.
Nice battle.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. Freese, base hit. Tying run is aboard. Winning run comes to the plate. Boy, what a great at bat there by David Freese. Come to expect that. No pinch run for Freese. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the world champion Cardinals. All right, Rick Horton, you've got Robinson at first. Schumacher's up. You think about the bunt. You think about maybe taking a pitch or two and letting him steal a bag. What do you do here?
Well, you saw Shane Robinson ready to pinch run, and that last picture
The second that ball was hit the left field, he grabbed his helmet and he knew he would be headed to first base. All of that's options. With Schumacher at the plate, he's a good hit and run guy. Robinson with good speed. You put some pressure on this catcher at some point because he's a guy that has a strong arm, Dan, but we have seen him throw the ball away before. We've seen him get errors past balls, so I like the idea of creating some pressure.
Third baseman is in on the grass. Todd Helton is holding the runner at first, and the first pitch to Schumacher. We just mentioned it moments ago as the catcher may have been crossed up on that pitch, but Betancourt, because he takes so long, clearly he was crossed up. I'm sure it's a very tough read for the runner at first, and that's Shane Robinson.
Well, Shane has good speed, but this is a pressure time to be trying to steal a base, I can tell you. And I think at some point you just got to let Skip Schumacher swing the bat. The thing you're trying to stay away from, obviously, is a double play. That's the biggest concern. Still not believing that Skip won't try to lay down a bunt is the third baseman, Nelson, who is in on the grass. That's still a possibility.
Big gap in right center field. The 1-0 pitch. Instead of check on the runner.
The old rule of thumb used to be that when you're on the road, you play for the win, and when you're at home, you play for the tie. With the assumption being you just play for that one run to send it to extra innings at home because you think you'd have the advantage there. And on the road, you try to get that extra run. You wouldn't bunt on the road, but you would at home.
Robinson, a short lead at first. 1 ball, 1 strike. If we would head to extra innings, you could have the situation where Schumacher stays in the game. He would play second base. Descalso then could move from second to third in Freese's spot. Descalso is on deck. A 3-2 Rockies lead here in the bottom of the ninth. That's if we head to extras. Outfield is not very deep for Schumacher. Great speed in center with Fowler.
We've got a Rockies club that has lost 7 of their last 8 series. They've tied 1. They're a team that has lost so much of late. Somewhere in the recesses of their mind is this thought of, here we go again. The blown saves total, part of that.
Do you give Schumacher 1 pitch to swing at?
I would.
That he just did, and now see if he lays down the bunt.
I'd let him swing.
Strike on the outside corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Tough pitch to take here. Was it a strike? Fox Track says no. 1-2 the count.
Thing you have to guard against if you're Schumacher is as you get behind in a count, you get a little more defensive. And the defensive swings are the ones that end up being ground balls in the infield. So at this point, a strikeout's better than a defensive ground ball in the infield, so just let it go. Air it out. Drive the ball somewhere.
Skip is 2 for 10 as a pinch hitter this year. In the hole, 1-2. The next to him. Puts it in play, slowly hit towards third. And Skip is the first out. Advancing on the play, Robinson, he's in scoring position.
That was the defensive swing I was talking about, but fortunately he hit it slow enough to the left side that it moved the runner to second base.
Here's the swing. Schumacher takes off. Did the job in the unconventional way.
Descalso as a base hit. See what the Cardinals have done in this series with runners in scoring position. Daniel would love to change that. Gap into right center.
Some pressure on this Rockies defense too. Not just the catcher we've talked about, but this is a defense that has struggled some collectively. Very, very good arm in left. And you've got 6 outfield assists in right in Kadire.
Ball 1 to Descalso. Hitting just 105 with runners in scoring position. Gap in right center. Trying to keep the runner close at second. The shortstop near the bag hitting lane left side on the infield. 1-0 pitch. Make it 2-0 for Carlos on deck. Get the feeling that Betancourt, Rick, kind of lulls you to sleep because Cardinals, with the exception of Freese, have not had very good swings against that fastball.
Sneaky fast.
Exactly. 16 pitches this far in the inning.
And as you take those all that time between pitches, it's a different way to change speeds. We talk about changing speeds with the changeup, but if you change it with your pace, you can get guys off balance as well.
The 2-0 pitch to Descalso. 3-0.
Fastball's been sneaky, Dan, but his fastball command has not been great. Kind of all over the place. He's crossed up his catcher once, and the fastball, a 2-0 fastball, to miss by that much to Descalso. I think the Cardinals can get to him.
Would you take another? 3-1. On 3-1. 3-2. Busch Stadium ready to erupt. Here comes a 3-2 pitch. Instead, a look at Robinson at second.
.40 wild pitches as a staff, far and away the most in the National League for the Rockies.
Three-two pitch. He walked him. Runners at first and second. Top of the lineup with the Cardinals down by a run here in the home half of the ninth. For COL, because of his speed, picked up an infield hit back in the seventh. Twice he had grounded out. He had also popped out to the second baseman.
Betancourt has already thrown 20 pitches in this inning. David Freese in his at-bat has really set the tone for this inning. He battled. A couple of foul balls on tough pitches, ending up with a base hit. More work to do for Betancourt.
First pitch, 2 for COL. Is in the dirt. If you're wondering, for COL is 2 for 6 with a double against Betancourt in his career. Take all the time you want. At some point, you still have to throw it. Steps off. 1 ball and no strikes on Rafael for COL. John Jay is on deck. Runners at first and second in a 3-2 game. Here it comes. For COL, right side. Nice play. Out at second, and that's all they're going to get. That saves a run at second base. Robinson, the tying run down at third. Game on the line and a very fine play at second base.
This is not an easy play. He has to range to his left and then spin on the throw to get the lead runner, who's going in hard to second base. You really got to give him some credit for making a tough play there.
Tough play in the fact that he gets the man at second, which would be the eventual winning run. So you take that equation out of the that part of the equation out with the potential game-winning base hit.
And all that has to be in his mind before that ball is hit. But
right.
He's got to understand, I cannot allow the winning run to get to second base. The tougher throw, the tougher play. John Jay now a chance to tie it. And watch out for the wild pitch. Pass ball. They've had plenty.
Third baseman is even with the bag as they hold it first, so hitting lanes the infield, and now Betancourt wants to talk it over again. Rick, you would have to think that's in the back of his mind. He's already crossed up the catcher once. They've had so many of those pass balls and wild pitches that you talked about. You've got the tying run down at third, winning run at first. It has to be in the back of his mind.
Well, you want to be careful about being overly nasty with something that's breaking low, or even a fastball that's going to ride up in the zone, and it really limits what you're going to do when you're worried about what's going to happen defensively.
Outfield is straight away. John Jay could tie it up. He could win it. Strike one. Against Colorado, 15 games and an average above 400 for John Jay. 2 base hits and a walk tonight. The 0-1 pitch. Make it 0-2. Center fielder Fowler has moved slightly now towards left field. Jay is in the hole. 0-2 with the game on the line. Runner from first goes, and it doesn't matter. It's a strikeout, and this ball game is over. Rockies take game 2.
Frustrating ending. Betancourt gets the final out. Good pitch on the corner.
Jim Tracy and the Rockies win it, and Jeff Francis is our Budweiser pitcher and player of the game.
Frustrating loss here. Really, this game hinged on a couple of pitches. Matt Holliday hit a home run in the first, and then Tyler Colvin one in the third, and that was all the offense we saw all night long.
Please stay with us. It's Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live coming up with Pat and Al. 3-2 the final tonight.